Don't put these in your vagina. Okay, now I've got your attention. Stay tuned for 5 more things this OBGYN does not want you to put in your vagina. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Dr. Jennifer Lincoln, board-certified OBGYN, author, and educator, and this channel is the health class you wish you had in high school. So go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell if you're not already subscribed and you don't want to miss an upload. Today's video is, 5 more things that I don't want you to put in your vagina. And I've done one video of this previously where I covered the 5 things that shouldn't go there. And the comment section was like, okay, we need more of this. And it was also like, people actually put this stuff in there? And the answer is yes, they do. So I'm just gonna jump right to it. Number 1, please do not put a hairbrush in your vagina. And if you're wondering why somebody might put a hairbrush in there, well, it's because they want to, feel good and touch themselves, but they don't have a toy made for this purpose. So as you can imagine, there's ridges and there's things on here. And the number 1 reason we don't want that in your vagina is because it can cause not only infection, but it can also cause lacerations or tiny little cuts in the walls of the vagina because these are not meant to be put in there. And if you're like, no, Jen, nobody's ever done that. Yes, they have. Trust me, I'm an OBGYN. And yes, it can cause harm. And so if you're somebody who you're like, well, Dr. Jen, how do I get something? I want to buy a toy, but I don't want my parents to know, or I feel embarrassed. I hear you. The good news is lots of sites will ship toys to you in very discreet packaging. So feel free to look into that or to ask when you want to order something, what does it look like when it arrives? But in the meantime, please no hairbrushes, okay? Okay, number 2, parsley. Yes, the herb parsley. And you, again, might say, Dr. Jen, nobody's done that. Yes, they have. And if you're wondering why people do this, well, there's this thought that parsley can help bring on a period that hasn't come or to help induce a miscarriage or an abortion. And all of these are not true and should not be done and are actually very dangerous. And there's actually an example here of somebody who tried this in Argentina, in a country where when abortion was outlawed, she needed an abortion. She couldn't get access to anything safe, and so she used parsley, and she died from an infection from the parsley in the vagina. And that's the main reason I and other gynecologists do not want you putting parsley in there. It's because parsley comes from the ground and there's dirt in there. And yes, you can wash something off and you can think that you're cleaning it, but take a look under the microscope. There's going to be little bits of dirt and sand and rocks and bacteria and little bugs. And as you can imagine, that doesn't go over so well in your vagina. Parsley is great as, like a seasoning to a dish, but not for your vagina. The 3rd thing I don't want you to put in your vagina is not something that actually goes into the vagina, but the goal is to get in there, and that's steaming. So using vaginal steams to do lots of things that these companies claim. So what this is, if you haven't heard about it, is when you sit over a pot of water that's boiled and there's a mix of herbs in there. And the idea is that you sit over it, and the companies that make these claim that it will tighten your vagina, which we hate that it will cleanse your uterus, that it will fix your periods, it will shrink your fibroids, it will help with prolapse, it will cure infertility, it will help you rid your uterus of toxic after effects of your ex-partner, lots of things. And I know that this is a cultural practice in many places, but we have evidence of people who have done these and they have been harmed. They have come into the emergency room with burns in the vagina because steam can get into the vagina, and that mucosal tissue there is very, very thin, very sensitive, and getting actual internal burns. That's horrible. It's also not so great because if you're somebody who's trying to get help with fertility issues, or you have a real issue with something like prolapse and you're depending on this to help you, you're delaying actual care. I am all for complementary treatments and therapies that can complement our traditional treatments and therapies, but this one can actually be really dangerous. So please don't do it. Okay, the 4th thing I don't want you putting in your vagina, jade eggs. If you're wondering, what are you talking about? Check this out from Goop, which, Gwyneth Paltrow and her Goop website. It's every OBGYN's worst nightmare. So she actually got in trouble and had a lawsuit that she lost based on this exact product. And what it is, it's an egg that's made of jade that is fashioned into the shape of an egg. And the reason she had a lawsuit is because of what she claimed this egg could do. Let's take a look. Okay, so her company had to pay $145,000 because of claims that were found to be misleading, which were, so they claimed that the use of this egg would correct hormonal imbalances, boost orgasms, prevent uterine prolapse, and regulate periods. My friends, tell me how a piece of jade is going to somehow stabilize the lining of your endometrium and like help you ovulate correctly, and like you can't, because it doesn't. So this product is unfortunately still on their website, just with those claims removed. So what it now says is that your yoni eggs, which is another word for this product, harness the power of energy work, crystal healing, and a Kegel-like physical practice. Insert the egg into your vagina and feel the connection with your body by squeezing and releasing the egg. Okay, let's unpack this. So one thing that a lot of people comment when they are talking about yoni eggs or jade eggs is that this is another cultural practice that has gone on for hundreds of years in certain cultures, and this is nothing new. Well, we love data, don't we? So is that actually true? So Dr. Gunter, another amazing OBGYN colleague who I love, and a lot of you know, she is dedicated to busting myths. She actually looked into this with somebody else. And what they did is they searched an online database of 4 major Chinese art and technology collections in the US. And they reviewed over 5,000 jade objects. And what they found is that there were no such things as vaginal jade eggs identified. So does that say that this is never something that's been part of a cultural practice? No. But this is not some mainstream thing that has deeply seated roots that everybody does and knows about when we can't find a historical record of it. So I think that's very interesting, and I do worry about the cultural appropriation of companies like Goop making these claims. So why do I not want you to put this into your vagina? Well, first of all, it's not going to fix any of those things that Gwyneth and her pals are making you think that it will. Can it cause harm? Yes, jade is porous. It cannot be cleaned or sterilized to such a degree that other things like medical grade silicone can. So while she claims that you could insert it and use it for Kegel-like practice, that's true, and the goal here is to like strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. You can actually do that with other products that are specifically made for this without the risk of putting something in your vagina that could have bacteria on it. And they do have cleaning instructions on their website, but it's still nowhere near going to guarantee that you're never going to get an infection from it. So like, save your money. And if you have concerns about your pelvic floor, please reach out to a pelvic floor physical therapist, not Gwyneth, okay? Okay, the fifth and final thing I don't want you to put in your vagina are DIY tampons. Now, I love a good tampon, but I don't love it when you're making it yourself. And the reason is that tampons are a very tightly regulated medical device. So doing a DIY craft and putting it in your vagina is a big no-no. What is one of the biggest things that we worry about when it comes to tampon usage? It's toxic shock syndrome, which is when a bacteria grows and can make you very sick very quickly, and actually can cause death. That's the reason that tampons are so tightly regulated, and doing a DIY version of this can be really harmful. And it's because that cotton substance is sitting in your vagina for hours and can become just a medium for like hundreds of thousands of millions of bacteria to grow. So there's actually there's another YouTube video that shows this, and I'll show it to you here. And the point here is not to go and call out this creator or make them feel bad, but just to show you that people search this and they can find this information even on this platform. And here's one of the comments that really worried me. So here's somebody who was trying to say why this could be okay. So they say, so many articles online say DIY cannot match medical grade tampons. Those articles are correct. But like, if you think gauze is medical grade, and if you had an open wound with no available gauze, you would just grab a clean washcloth. So it's not even as intense as they make it seem. So it's very different putting a washcloth on a wound that you're going to put on there and then you're not going to leave on forever, versus putting something that's going to sit in there and absorb blood and absorb bacteria, because we know that there's more bacteria in the vagina. That's normal. It's not the same, and it's actually very dangerous, and I don't want you to use this. Now, if you're like, what's the safest tampons I can use? I've covered that elsewhere, and I'll put some references in the comments, but please do not sew your own tampons. And this is also another example of period poverty. People who don't have access to regular products sometimes are forced to use things like old rags and stick things in their vagina or put them in their underwear, and this is why period poverty is such an issue. Okay, those are the 5 things that I don't want you to put in your vagina that maybe some of you still can't believe people do, but they do, and that's why I'm here to myth bust and hopefully give you evidence-based information so you can spread the good word. What other things do you want me to cover? What other comments, thoughts, questions do you have? Go ahead and drop them in the comments section. Go ahead and check out my show notes for references and resources. And as always, follow me at Dr. Jennifer Lincoln on TikTok, Instagram, and elsewhere where we're having fun all week long. All right, everybody, stay safe out there and don't put these things in your vagina, okay?